Okay, yes, we're back. Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. Patterdale Talk. It's gonna be a good one. I'm excited. Of course, everyone knows I'm Woods. I got my bro Marshall with me, like always. My bro, my mentor. I'm learning things from him every day. And today we have Scotsman Cramer. And you guys wanna, well, they know who Marshall is. So Cramer, you want just let them know who you are?
Yeah, that sounds cool. Yeah, I live in Northeast Kansas. Kind of a natural born hunter. You know what I'm saying? Like I've always been into hunting, especially drawn to hunting with dogs. And yeah, that's what I've been doing for like most of my life is just hitting the woods and the rivers with dogs.
Did you grow up around hunting dogs?
Uh, a little bit. I grew up just some kind of. They weren't really supposed to be hunting dogs. You know what I mean? But they would do stuff.
Yeah.
And cool. Those were like more pets than anything, but I used to hear stories about my grandpa Bud. He was kind of like a commercial rabbit hunter during the Great Depression. He had beagles, and there were stories about him catching so many rabbits that they would stack them up on the front porch of the grocery store like you would firewood. And
Shit.
I kind of had like stuff like that in mind as a kid. And my dad had gone to school actually at K State, be a veterinarian, and he ended up being an antique dealer. But so he had a lot of background with working with animals and dogs and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I kind of grew up around it. And then they had a greyhound racetrack in Kansas City that we used to go to when I was a kid. It was called the Woodlands,
Yeah.
and there were two tracks there. One was a greyhound track and one was a horse track. But the greyhound track, my dad, like, he would give me $2 and let me place my bets, and he'd place the bets for me, and then I'd turn like $2 into $16. And so I kind of got into like not so much gambling, like I don't gamble these days, but the performance side of animals. You know what I mean? Like raising animals, like working animals for a reason, and that was kind of like some of the early introduction that I had to that kind of stuff.
So what would you think was your first introduction then to like, I guess like a dog actually like bred for the purpose of hunting?
Well, I mean, it kind of depends on your definition of hunting, but
Yeah.
the first working breed that I fell in love with was the American Pit Bull Terrier,
Yeah.
and that was when I was like very young, like about maybe 18 or 19. I got my first ones, and I just kind of had some street dogs, and then ended up actually uh, working my way up into like a full yard of dogs, and I had 30 acres and quite a few bulldogs out there. And uh, I thought I love pit bulls so much, and at that time, like if I could see myself these days and see that I have like these kind of long haired like collie type dogs, I'd almost be like, "What are you doing, man?" But that was just a different time and a different era. Uh, I was like kind of into the ADBA scene, you know what I mean? Going to all the shows and going to all the Midwest shows, like Oklahoma, uh, Missouri, and Kansas, and all these kind of ones. But uh, when I got out of those dogs, I kind of really didn't know what to do with myself because it was such a big part of my identity.
Yeah.
My time and who I was taking care of these dogs and working these dogs, showing them all that kind of stuff. So uh, around that time, they had a documentary come out. I don't know if you guys remember hearing about it, but it was called, I think it's from the BBC, but it was called Pedigree Dogs Exposed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever see that?
Yeah, I did. I've seen that before.
And man, when that thing came out, that seemed like around the same time that I got out of the Bulldogs, and my wife was always into Boston Terriers. And a lot of people don't know this, but some of the big name Bulldog guys, there were the half a dozen of them or so that I could think of, but like big names. They were breeding and keeping Boston Terriers at that time, kind of as a novel thing, and as pets. And so my wife liked them, and so I was like, man, I should get into Boston Terriers. And then the Pedigree Dogs Exposed thing, I got the idea to kind of like save the breed. You know what I'm saying? Like gonna outcross it to different stuff and take it back to like what it used to be. And that's how I found a breed of dog called the Old Boston Bulldog.
Yep, I'm familiar. I've run 3 of them.
What'd you say?
I've ran 3 of them before.
Yeah.
Like I have a friend who runs them in Maryland, and I've actually hunted over some old Boston Bulldogs.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So that's what I switched it up, and that kind of consumed my dog interest and time and stuff after pit bulls were the Old Boston Bulldogs, and I didn't really get them as like a hunting dog. I was thinking of them more as like a pet and companion, and also like something that was kind of sporty.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Especially if you brought it back to the old school type. You know, they were doing some kind of cool stuff with them back then, and so that's kind of what I had in mind, was like an athletic type of Boston Bulldog, elongate the muzzle, stuff like that. And so I wanted to look for an outcross for the Old Boston Bulldogs. And at that time, I don't think I had heard of a Patterdale Terrier, but I had definitely heard of working Jack Russells before.
Yeah.
And I had actually attended a working Jack Russell show at a vineyard in a town called Vinland, which is working. What's that?
There must have been feedback.
What's that?
There must have been feedback. There must have been feedback.
Hold on, that's
What's that?
There must have been feedback.
my end, I think. There it goes.
Are we good?
You were good.
Yeah, we're good.
All right. Well, I had attended this working terrier show in Vinland, Kansas, and it was all Jack Russells. And I had never seen anything like that. I thought it was pretty cool. And so I thought a dog like that would be a pretty good outcross for the Boston Terriers that I was trying to kind of make them sporty and elongate the muzzle and stuff. So I got online. I started looking at Jack Russells. I found a kennel in Arkansas that had some really cool looking dogs, you know, almost like, to me, they looked like a little bit like bully influence type of ones, you know, or like a bulldog influence, wider in the chest and stuff, not knowing anything about terrier work. Excuse me. So I called the guy, and he said he had some Jack Russell puppies, and he priced them. I can't remember what it was, but something cheap. And he said, but if you make the trip down here, I have a half Jack Russell, half English Bull Terrier that I'll give you for free. And so I was like, all right, I'm going down there, and either way, I'm coming back with the dog. I was like, either one of these Jack Russell puppies or the Bull Jack, you know.
Yeah.
I drive down to Arkansas, and I see these dogs, and the puppies are nice. He shows them to me first, and I'm like kind of thinking about it. Then he shows me this little female, the Jack Russell Bull Terrier cross, like on a little 3 or 4 foot chain, just like pacing, just running in circles. And he said, I have to put her on that chain, otherwise she'll disappear into the mountains for 3 or 4 days, and she comes back, and she looks so beat up and stuff that she looks almost like she's gonna die. And so I keep her on that chain to keep her from going out there and doing that. And I was like, I'll take that one, you know, like that sounded pretty cool to me. And so she was like what I would call a chain brain, like had absolutely no kind of training, no socialization, never been in a car, never been on a leash, just the chain and or running loose, you know.
Yeah.
And she was about a year old, and so I got her, and I named her Darby, and that was going to be my outcross for the Bostons. I was going to take them back, and I thought that she looked kind of similar to me, looking at old pictures and stuff. I thought she looked similar to like what they called like an English white terrier.
Yeah,
Almost like a racier looking miniature bull terrier type of dog, you know. And
throwback build.
yeah, and she kind of looked like that to me, and so I was like, they say, you know what I mean? I was like, that was kind of a thing from that time period, and that was my plan. I was going to cross Darby to this male that I had named Willie, who was an old Boston Bulldog, and I was going to start like this breeding program of these little sporty kind of dogs. And uh, anyway, what ended up happening was anytime I would take, I'd been I'd been running dogs loose down at the river and hiking around with them, running dogs around for years before I got her. But I would take her out and unclip the leash and let her go, and she always found something. She always found a raccoon, a possum, like something crazy every time, you know. And I had spent like a most of my life in the woods with different types of dogs, but I realized when I got her that I had actually been walking past uh, critters like my whole life, you know, until you actually have a
Yeah.
dog. You're like, there's one, there's one, there's one. And it got to be a game. It was like I started showing her to people around here, guys that were outdoorsy, like hunting type dudes, bulldog guys, just people I hung out with. Like, watch this shit. We'd take her to the likely spot and I'd unclip it. And it kind of turned into a thing. And then we realized, like, this is a thing. Like, she'd be trying to go down holes, and we'd take her to abandoned houses, and she'd be finding like 6 or 7 raccoons at a time. You know what I'm saying? This is like 15 years ago or something. And
I think it's actually where I heard from you from, because when I was first getting into Patterdales, I bought my Pat off of this website called Vargy Coyotes. And when I was on the website, I remember seeing a picture of, like, I think Darby, I assume, honestly.
did you say Vargy?
Yeah, Vargy, yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny, man. That was like one of the first. I'm not like really like an internet dude, but that was like a place where I first saw like some terrier work, and those guys didn't do a lot of digging. They were doing like barns and abandoned houses. And this Darby, the Jack Russell English Bull Terrier, she was probably like she probably weighed like 25 or 28 pounds. You know what I mean? A little bit big for earthwork, but she could get in like beaver sets and
Yeah.
perfect for barns and abandoned houses. And so that's what I started doing with her. And then yeah, it kind of turned into a whole thing. Uh, then I found out about Patterdale Terriers, and kind of went crazy for those. You know, the first one that I got actually didn't work out, which was unusual for me because I always had good luck with the first
Yeah.
dog of any type that I tried. I think it has a lot to do with your a new interest and a real time commitment. You know what I mean? But the first time I get into a new type of dog, I always have like good luck, but that wasn't the case with the first Patterdale that I got, and I ended up giving it to a farmer like as a pet. And I heard some years later that that dog got ran over by a tractor.
Oof.
And so what happened was I still had Darby, and my brother, who was he was kind of into the bulldogs with me. He saw what I was doing with the hunting with the bull Russell, and so he went and got a Patterdale that came out of Oklahoma from a guy named T.J. Dury.
Yeah.
He's a chicken guy down there, and my brother got like a Finnish like grown dog, and her name was Inky. When he got her, her name was Ice, and and
Name.
we thought it was Ice. We couldn't tell if it was Ice or Eyes, and so we were like, I don't know, man. Fucking just name her something else. And so he named her Inky, and Inky was super awesome. Uh, Super awesome. I mean, really, really good. Classic black coated, uh, hard as nails Patterdale Terrier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she was a really, really good locator, and the type of dog that would she would stay just stuck in on game so long that you would almost be begging her to just, can we please just, that's enough. Like, can we just go home? You know, and it's like, no, you're gonna have to get all the way to her. She's not going anywhere. Just a really badass legendary dog, or a bitch actually. But so then after that, my brother got another Patterdale, and he got this one from Kansas City from a bulldog man named John Valaire.
Yeah.
And these bulldog guys, they like the Patterdales as sort of like mini bulldogs. You know what I'm saying? They weren't like going into the forests like hunting and stuff. And so that was sort of Rasta's background. That ended up being the male puppy that my brother got from John Valaire in Kansas City.
Yeah, so you just told the backstory of what Robbie told us, basically. So everything just went full circle.
Yeah. So those two dogs, Rasta and Inky, then they had a litter of puppies, and the close circle that we kind of got going around here locally, those all got passed out amongst us from my brother. And out of that litter, I got two of them, two males. I got a very small little black male, and he was like ultra aggressive. I mean, like he was like overkill. Like even as a little puppy, it was just like, dude, I you rarely do you see that much aggression in a puppy, you know. And he was veiny and had like kind of a wiry coat, and I named him Saxon. And then I got another male, and he was very big and kind of a houndy looking thing, like as a pup, and I called him Big Red. And at that time, I lived out in the country, out here, like on a little 10-acre spot, but it was surrounded by other people's place, and so I'd be hitting hedgerows with those dogs when they were little, and they would be getting into pack rats' nests and stuff like that. But the little black one that was real mean and aggressive and stuff, I started noticing that he had what I eventually found out was called a luxating patella,
Yeah.
and it's a malformation of the knee joint.
Small dog.
He started kind of would have a little skip to his step in his back legs, and ultimately that's why he didn't make the team. But that I found to be probably the biggest problem within the Patterdale breed is the luxating patellas, and I would say that people talk about how good working type Patterdales are getting could become hard to find. I don't think we're at that stage right now. I think that like the Patterdale genetics are very good. Those dogs have been kept mostly by hunters, and that people what they really need to select for, or not really for, but against, is that luxating patella.
Yeah.
Because if you want to hunt a dog hard and hunt them all the time, it's okay if you just want to take them up to a hole or something, you know. But uh, if you really want to hunt a dog the way that I like to hunt a dog, they can't have they can't have a luxating patella. They can't have malformed knee joints. And a dog that does and a dog that doesn't, if you take them out for a 8 or 10 hour hunt with multiple digs, you can see the difference at the end of the day. You know, the dog with the bad knees will be hanging out by you and laying down and limping and stuff like that. And to me, that's just the biggest issue with the Patterdale breed.
It's interesting that you said that because lately the past couple of people have been talking more about vision and eye stuff, more so with Patterdales lately, like cataracts.
Yeah,
dog cataracts. Yeah,
I could see that. I think you know, I've never been good about testing or anything myself personally, but I mean that could be an answer. I wonder with the eyes how much of it is congenital defects and how much of it is from debris. Uh, you know what I'm saying? Injuries from coons scratching their eyes. You got
Yeah.
stick poking them, dirt in their eyes. The biggest injuries that I found working Patterdales or any kind of terriers would always be either their eyes or their feet, you know, and those would be the things that I would worry about. And I don't mean the biggest injuries as far as wound wise, but those would be the things that would cause the most problems, long term.
Yeah, that does make sense. And I will say, in general, for small dogs, Lexington patellas are for sure a problem. Like for the smaller breed dogs in general.
Yeah. It seems like the smaller they are, the more that's a thing. But anyway, so I ended up keeping Big Red, and around that same time I sold Darby to a guy down in Texas for what seemed to me like a lot of money at the time. And my dad was going down to Texas every month, and so I had her kind of deliver Darby down there for me. But or no, I'm trying to think. That's not it. That's not actually how it went. I got that kind of backwards. I took Darby after I sold her to a guy down in Texas. His name's Jay Woleb. Have you guys ever heard of him?
Yeah, Joe will. Yeah, he's a big time Yog breeder, isn't he?
Yeah, he's into the York Terriers, man. Yes, that's him.
Yep.
And so he offered me a good amount of money for Darby, and I did end up using her as an outcross for those Bostons too. I did have a litter off of Darby and my old Boston Bulldog named Willie.
I would
Yeah,
have loved to do that.
but so what ended up happening though is like Darby kind of stole the show and introduced me to terrier work, and then my focus switched from I'm gonna save Boston Terriers to like, holy shit, there's such a thing as hunting terriers. And so I just went full blast into that, and kept the Bostons around, but that project was shelved for sure. And anyway, once we got Patterdales in our circle, I sent Darby down to Texas. I keep saying that. I sent her to Oklahoma to a guy named Justin Smith. He's like AKA Justin Ryder online.
Yeah.
He's a hound guy, like a black and tan coon hound guy.
Yeah.
But the reason that I sent her down there, that I dropped her off down there with him, was because he had a dog down there that was a Jack Russell named Haas, Roger Clear's Haas. And for years, ever since I got Darby, I had been asking people online, I said, what is the best locating terrier of any breed or mix of breeds that you've ever seen? And I kept hearing Haas, Roger Clear's Haas. I think he was from Nebraska. And so I tried to get a hold of him, and I wanted to breed Darby to him, the Bull Russell. So I
Yeah.
could quarter Jack Russell, 1/4 English Bull Terrier, like hunting terriers. Well, he said that he had sent Haas down to Oklahoma with Justin Smith, and so when I sold Darby to Jay Woleb, I asked him. I said, "What are you gonna do?" I was kind of talking shit, but I said, "What are you gonna do when you get this dog and she's better than your Yags?"
That is talking shit for sure.
He said,
Really?
I guess I would probably just breed her to a Yag. And I said, "Oh, fuck that! You ought to breed her to Roger Clear's Haas, because I heard that Haas would locate where Yags had walked right past game." You know what I mean? And so he said, "Okay, let's breed her to Haas." And he was like, "Get it worked out, and I'll pay you for Darby. You drop her off at Haas, and we'll breed her to Haas. Then he'll get her. He'll raise the litter, and he would give me a pup back." And so that's what ended up happening. But my dad, that's what ended up happening. But my dad was going down to Texas every month, and so he brought me 3 puppies back that were off of Haas to Darby. And some of those stayed down in Texas. I don't know how many there were in the litter, but I ended up giving one of them to my buddy Pete Yellowbird, and her name was Finny. And she went on to produce some really good dogs. Like one of them is Seth Simpson's Kill Bill.
Yep.
Out
We had Carson on here too, and Carson talked about the girl he got.
yes, he has some of that same stuff. But anyway, that was the Bull Russells. But and I kind of got that going and like handed that off, and guys did really, really cool stuff with those dogs, and they still are. And I hope that line keeps going. But I got full blast into the Patterdales, and so I had Big Red, and this is around the time that I met Robbie Robinette, who ended up being like he's a little bit older than me, but like he's like one of my best friends, you know what I'm saying? But he's like not old enough to be like my dad, but he's almost like a friend slash like mentor father figure guy.
Mm-hmm.
He just definitely my life changed like when I met Robbie, you know what I'm saying? Like he's a cool dude, and we hunted together many times, and we still do. It's less frequently these days, but we hunted together every weekend for, I mean, I'm talking about like a decade or something, guys.
Yeah.
So we've been through a lot of digs and hunts and dogs and all that stuff. And yeah, one big difference between me and Robbie is he's like a social type of hunter, and I think it comes from his coonhound background
Yeah.
and bulldog background, and so I like to keep to myself and keep a very small circle. But uh, he likes to go out and like hunt dogs, meet people, travel, bring people in, see what they've got, that kind of stuff, and so I met a lot of people just by being friends with Robbie because all of his ideas are like uh, hunting with people.
Mm.
And we hunted together a whole lot, but there'd be a lot of weekends where he would be hosting people. And so I got to meet a lot of people in the Jack Russell and the Patterdale Terrier scene that I would not have if I was just doing it on my own, you know what I mean? But I started going to the shows. They had a club. It was called MOE. It's like Missouri Earth Dogs or something like that. And they would do shows in
Title on these pics.
at Purina Farms in Summit, Missouri. They do like AWTA, American Working Terrier Association.
Yep. I actually met someone a couple years ago who knew you from AWTA. Her name was Doreen, and she had a little small Jack Russell named Flair.
Yeah, Doreen Spires.
Yep.
Lovely, lovely lady. Yeah, it's funny, the Jack Russells, it's like there are men, but it's a lot of women. Uh,
A lot. Yeah.
the Patterdales, it's not so much, but one guy that's really into the Jack Russells that I would like to hunt with is Mark Thompson.
Yeah. I've
And let's do a hunt. But yeah, I started going to the AWTA shows at Purina Farms, and at first I would take Big Red. They had like a fun day or something.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool, and they had some little tunnels, and I ran him through there, and I was like, okay, it was kind of cool, mostly just to meet people and to see other dogs, and so uh, I hunted like almost too much at that time, like I was obsessed, and I was working on a farm, and so I would start early and get off in the afternoons. And so in the summers, I might have 6 or 8 more hours of daylight. In the winter times, I'd be like completely off work and just hunting dogs like all day, every day almost. Just totally obsessed. I don't know how many digs I got in, but I did keep two hunting journals on Big Red and Ruby Red from their very first locate all the way through their career while I had them. And I will say though also that I would hunt so frequently at that time period that a dog that went as hard as a Patterdale Terrier, uh, they don't last more than like a couple years.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's realistic, especially, and that kind of brings me to the question I was going to ask you: is that like, what kind of style of terrier like do you want for how you like to hunt?
Well, I guess I would say like the style.
Like a rough mixer or a bayer?
Like hard, a
Yeah,
hard or a mixer, a bayer. I like a
yeah,
mixer. I like a hard dog too. I like all of them, man. I like
yeah.
bayers too. I love all terriers. I love all terrier styles. Uh, yeah, I could get down with all of that, you know. But
Yeah.
I say really like a mixer, like a dog that you know what I would do is a lot of times I would start out with a hard dog,
Mm.
and they would end up being a mixer. And if they were on somebody else's yard, they would still be a hard dog, you know.
I know exactly what you
They
mean.
would work them, and then they would put them up for like 90 days, and they'd be all healed up and all frustrated, and then they'd go super hard again. But that's not what I was doing. Uh, I actually I actually heard this from Robbie, and I think it's a hound thing. But he told me if you want a dog to be a good hunting dog, hunt it by itself for 30 days straight. 30 days straight. A lot of people are like, that's not possible in like with my lifestyle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That time I
Mhm.
was shit. I could totally do that. You know, and
Yeah.
so I would do, and I would be hunting dogs when they were sore. You know, I would be I don't know, just being a little bit just totally into it too much. You know, I could always only keep a small number of dogs, so I'd be just like taking them out again and again and
How
again.
many how many dogs do you have right now? How many Patterdales do you have right now?
I don't have any Patterdales right now.
Oh, how many dogs do you have right now?
Right now I have well, I have 4 adult dogs, but I have a litter of 6 puppies too.
Are they Patterdale mixes or just what kind of dogs are they?
They are the hunting kind, dude. Uh, so they are. I'm trying to think here. They're 1/8 pit bull. They're
We,
oh man, is
we can pull up your website too, because your website says the exact mix if you want.
it?
Help you out.
they're
What's the
pit,
website?
The one we
they're
sent in the
pit
group chat.
bull, Catahoula, and Collie. Those are the dogs that I have right now. But the the reason that I don't keep Patterdales currently is because they would just get too banged up, and I'd bring them home. I have a small number of dogs, and I would keep they have to be like family dogs and companions and working dogs, and so it was kind of crazy, like some of the stuff that I was doing in the condition that I would bring dogs home that like were like pets also, you know what I'm saying? So the reason right now that I have the collies and the collie crosses is because you can hunt them a lot and they don't get hurt like that. When
Just
it
respond.
and that comes that's the same with the sight hounds, because I spent some years going super hard into American stag hounds, and I had some really like kind of crazy accidents and stories about how extreme that those dogs are. You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
a collie, uh, I got into collies. It's kind of interesting. I don't know, guys. It's like this theme of my dog life, but as an outcross, like the same reason I got Darby. Like I'm gonna do this Save the Boston Terrier project. So I got Darby, which got me into terrier work. Totally switched it up. So then at some point I got into sight hounds.
Yeah.
I live in Kansas. You know what I mean? There's like uh, a lot of flat areas and a lot of history with greyhounds and coursing and stuff around here. And you know, like the introduction through like the Varghese site and
Yeah.
some of the stuff I had seen, but and also the overseas, like the lurcher work and stuff. I was like, wow, this is really cool. But so I got into American stag hounds, and they're just they're just it's like a Ferrari of a dog. And if this dog's running like 40 miles an hour and it were to hit like a tree or a fence post,
Done.
it's like getting hit by a car. You know what I'm saying? Or I had one that was my daughter's dog. You know, that we raised in the house. It's kind of like the Patterdales, where it's like the family gets attached to them, and then I take them out hunting. You know, and but anyway, we had one that uh, kind of crashed while running, chasing some fast game, like through a dry ravine, like a
Yeah.
dried up pond or something, and kind of somersaulted and uh, lived less than 24 hours. So anyway, I was like, I want to turn these long dogs into lurchers. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna take just the pure sight hounds, and I want to outcross them to a collie. And so what happened was I ended up getting some collies and collie crosses to use them as the outcross, and now I'm almost entirely focused on those in the same way that I got into the terrier type dogs as an outcross for something I was working on.
Yeah.
And I found out that I like them quite a bit, and so I've been focused on the collies, but I still do what I do. And when a terrier man gets a collie, uh, you end up doing a lot of like earthwork with your collie and stuff. I would still be hunting with terrier people and taking my collies with me, and so they've been around hunting with terriers a lot, and they're good for marking sets. They can tree bolted game. Uh,
Can they draw?
yeah, sometimes it kind of depends. I've I've been very proud of collies for how tough they were before, and I've also been like kind of embarrassed by them before too. Yeah,
Yeah. That's the same diff with sight hounds too. Like you always kind of wonder that like they're in it to win it because they're winning, but as soon as they're losing, they're like, nah, I don't want that.
yes, yes. A collie has the same temperament as a sight hound, which is a little bit hard to deal with coming out of bulldogs and terriers. It's like a huge adjustment as far as training a puppy or raising one up. You know.
Yeah, I hate to put you off track, but like, can we talk about Boris a little bit? Because Boris is like one of the reasons I even have my lurcher. Like seeing those pictures of Boris that you posted, he's
Yeah,
such a powerful looking dog.
yeah, yeah. So, oh man, so after years of being out of bulldogs, this is about Boris. After years of being out of bulldogs, I was gifted a bulldog, and it was a puppy out of some really like fast lane shit out of Mexico, like Yanez,
Yeah,
seldom seen kennels or something like that, and it was like some real shit. And so I had this bulldog, and I named her Tanky, and she was like 8 or 9 months old, and I was kind of like, oh shit, like, am I getting back into bulldogs? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck am I doing here? And it just it kind of felt like a step back in some ways. And so I got online and I messaged this dude that had some badass stag hounds. He had some ones that were off of kind of a famous dog called Hammer.
yeah,
You know, and these are coyote hounds, like ranchers in central and western Kansas. They have like a real livestock mentality. They grew up in 4-H. Like they know how to fucking breed and raise animals. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
fuck around and I hit this dude up and I was like, "Yo, I got this really badass bulldog prospect, uh, but I kind of want to trade her for a sight hound. Like, would you be cool with something like that?" And so he said, "Yeah, he had a litter of puppies." And that I ended up getting Boris out of there, And when I showed up to meet him, he brought two of them. He brought Boris, and he brought a little female. And Boris looked real weird to me. He looked kind of funny. He had like a different kind of head shape, and his nose looked off. And the female looked exactly like you would think a greyhound pup would look like. Just, oh yeah, really nice, you know.
Yeah.
But I already had a female called Llama, who I got from Dan Long, who's a badass MMA fighter. His nephew Adam Pullman.
Mm.
Shout out Adam Pullman, Dan Long. They're from Osage City, where Robbie lives. It's a family that hunts with dogs. But I had an American Staghound that I got from Dan Long for $1. He sold me a dog named Llama, and she was a year old. And I'm pretty sure I got her because she wasn't very tough on coyotes at that age. But so I wanted a male, and so I got this male pup, and they ended up bringing two. So I got a male and a female pup. That was from the Grubbs family. That's where I got Boris from.
Mm.
And his dad was Hammer, and his mom was like a track hound, like a tattooed out like track hound, you know.
Oh, so
And
he was a 50-50. He was half hot blood.
yes, and so I pretty much immediately like gave away his sister when I got here, and my neighbor that lives behind us, who's the mayor, uh, has Boris's sister, and they call her Bella, and she runs around out there now, and she's just a pet. But anyway, I started taking Boris out with Llama, and what a funny story about Boris. I pulled up to buy some beer one time, and I had him like out in my Jeep or something, and I was in the store, and some lady said, "Whose dog is that outside?" And I started freaking out. I thought something there was like a problem, you know. And I was like, "It's mine. What's up?" And she's like, "Uh, my family used to raise Weimaraners. I love your Weimaraner pup." And I was like, "Oh my god!" I was so relieved because I thought like there was an issue, and I said, "That's an American Staghound," and she looked me right in the eyes and she said, "That's a Weimaraner." And I thought, wow, this lady's like super crazy. But then about like 5 or 6 years later, I found out that he was like 1/16th Weimaraner. I couldn't believe it. And the first thing I thought of was that
You knew
lady.
her shit. She knew what she was talking about.
I was like, damn, she saw the Weimaraner in there. I could not believe it. But yeah, man, Boris, oh my God, dude. I don't know. I don't want to tell you the whole Boris story right now. That's going to have to be for like, I don't know what the statute of limitations on some of that shit is.
That's
But
fair.
he was the type of dog for a different era. That's what I would say about him. He's the biggest, strongest, fastest dog that anybody who ever saw him ever saw. And it was fucking scary, dude. Every time I would unclip him off the leash, I was like, what have I just done? You know, and some of the craziest shit that ever happened to me with dogs was because of him. And I thought, I'm gonna get myself into the news with this dog. And so I farmed him out to a dude named Josh Poole down in Oklahoma, and he did some hog hunting with him. He had all kinds of experience doing all kinds of things up here. But down in Oklahoma, he did some hog hunting with Boris, and then he brought him back up here to me, and then uh, I sent him out to a guy that worked for the railroad out in western Kansas that like had a ranch and stuff, because I was literally scared to own this dog. He was so intense and so just he's just on another level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Make you realize the value of a dog like that, like in back in the days, like if you really needed to feed your family and old dude pulled down some big game, you'd be like, yes, but it was kind of more like not cool, you know?
No, yeah, I understand you completely. Like I tell people all the time, like when they see like my lurcher, I'm like, this is the one kind of dog where like he ain't gonna go hungry.
Yeah. Yeah, they're crazy, and
So
they're a little different. Like with game too, they don't the sight hounds, they don't like that back and forth exchange that a terrier or a bulldog, like a sporty type of a dog likes. They more kind of go like 300% borderline blackout for like a short period of time, and nothing lasts. It's like that kind of thing.
this is a question we ask everyone. When it comes to the Patterdales, do you have a favorite bloodline?
Man, I've seen a lot of different shit. I know that the Inky went back to Booth, and then I'm trying to think what Rasta's side was. I actually have like some old pedigrees and terrier type stuff that I pulled out from earlier.
Oh,
I
cool.
really like. Here's Inky's. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Oh shit, we got Inky's pedigree here. Hell yeah. Mountaintop Pat. I think the bottom it says hits grip.
Yes.
Yeah. And then more of the mountaintop says sticky. Mountaintop Maggie. Mountaintop Pat. Right.
Yeah.
This is some seriously old throwback shit. Wow.
Yep. That was Inky. And then man, I got plans for earth tunnels and stuff. I used to make them with obstacles. You see how that side view of that has those ropes hanging down?
Yeah.
Be like roots coming through your tunnel.
Yeah.
Uh, like that when you got to pile up some dirt.
Yeah.
So they got to dig their way through.
Backfill.
Stuff like that. That was when I first got into that. But yeah, I got dude, I got a lot of crazy stuff. These two things, you see these little 3-ring binders?
Yeah, that's a log.
What is that? Spiral notebook? I got two of them. I got ruby reds and big reds, and those are both Rasta Inky. Ruby red. I haven't told you about her. Uh, she's also Rasta Inky. Well, I got her after I lost Big Red, and I mean lost like don't know where he went.
Yeah.
Just got out of pocket. Took him on a hunt, but that was when he was probably about 2 years old. I'm trying to think. I could probably look up when his last hunt was.
So in comparison to other kind of pats you've been around and run, is
Yeah,
that the Inky Rasta stuff? They're pretty good locators, aren't they?
super good locator. Yeah, that's what kind of Inky was known for. Rasta was kind of like more of like a stupid, hard type of dog. I would say he was like the hardest. He was one of the hardest dogs, regardless of breed.
Is that your when it comes to the Patterdale, of course, is that your favorite? Is that your favorite trait? Is the nose, the bite?
Yeah, I think the best that I ever heard it put was find, fit, stay.
Yep.
And so it has to be in that order. You got to be a good locator first. And so that's what I most would highly value. And then you got to be able to get to the game. You got to be the size to get up to the game. And then you got to stay. You know what I'm saying? So whatever their style is, then they got to stay. And that's the gameness. But I don't know.
What's your ideal weight for a Patterdale?
For it depends on what you're hunting, but I would say like
Doing earthwork.
yeah, around here probably like 14 to 16.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty similar to.
Dog that's spannable, and yeah, like a flexible dog that's spannable, like 15 pounds would be good. 11, 12 pounds, I've seen them, but they kind of get pushed around, and it's asking a lot, to go up against some of the shit we got around here.
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like find, fit, and stay. Like the fit part is can be really subjective depending upon where you live in the U.S.
Yeah, we hunt a lot of creeks, and so you can get away with a bigger dog. We got like beaver dens, like log jams,
Yeah,
low logs,
your dog
stuff
probably
like
beat it
that.
for sure.
You can get, and it depends on the drive of the dog, but you can get a lot of game in a lot of places with a dog that's all the way up to like 18 pounds.
Have you ever dealt with any coyote trouble in that area?
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I've actually, yeah, like several times. Uh, I've gotten a couple coyotes with Patterdales, and the first time it ever happened was with Big Red when he was about 10 months old, and I was hunting down by the river, and there's a lot of agricultural type fields around there, and they had this big ass old irrigation pipe.
Yeah.
He entered. I'm talking about like a big, like as big around as a frisbee, steel pipe,
Hmm.
and it was like level with the ground, sticking out of this sand. And I just saw him go right down it, and I was like, oh shit. And so I spent quite a bit of time trying to find out where the other end of this thing was, because it was long. I mean, I'm talking about like 100 feet long or something.
God damn.
Down by the river bank, there was like a big steep bank, and this pipe came sticking out, and it was about 5 or 6 feet off the ground to where I could look right into it, and I could hear him in there. And when I had my terrier shit with me, and I shine a flashlight in there, and I could see the ass end of a coyote, and I was like, oh my god, and when I got around to that end of that pipe, he got brave too. He had been barking at it. He was like 10 months old, and he had it backed up all the way there. And as soon as he realized that I was there, he rushed in and grabbed a hold of it. And he had this thing like by the neck, and he started shaking it. And every time he would shake it, his head would go bang, 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 bang against the sides of that steel pipe. And I was like, I thought he was going to hurt himself. You know what I'm saying? Like, he had a hold of that coyote, but he was banging his own head against the sides of the pipe so hard that was like my main concern. But eventually he killed that thing in there.
When the adrenaline rushing, they don't feel that. They'll, as you guys know, they'll fuck themselves up or let themselves get fucked up, and they won't feel it until it's all over.
So
Yeah,
10, at
he
10
didn't.
months old.
He was in there and he wouldn't come past it, and he's just laying in there with it, and it's like pretty much dead. So I went and got a long stick, and I found a fork stick. I cut one end of the fork short, and I left the other end of the fork long.
Mm-hmm.
Took that long end as a handle, and I pushed it in, and was able to pull that coyote close enough to me where I could reach it in that pipe and pull it out. And it was about like a half grown mangy coyote.
Yeah.
But he got it in there, and I was like, I couldn't believe it. And then I think this was like a little while after that. There's a golf course kind of out in the country around here, and then near there was a dried out pond. And so what used to be sort of like the edge of the pond, like the bank of the pond, it had like this little dirt walls. It was only about like 2 feet tall or something. But the pond was totally dry, and I was walking the edge of it, and it had kind of like some little dens and stuff in there. And Big Red went in there. He entered and started going crazy, and I started hearing some really unusual noises like inside there. And it was a huge opening, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I looked in there, and I could just see like a huge, full-grown, healthy coyote with the eyes glowing back at me. And I knew that my dad and my brother were working at my dad's shop, and they were only like a few miles away. And so I called them up, and my brother had Rasta, who, like I said, he was like the hardest Patterdale I've ever seen. And Big Red was kind of banging and trying to mix with this thing. And So my dad and my brother pull up, and they drive right up to where I'm at, get Rasta out, and he goes in and smashes right into this coyote. And it pretty much immediately just takes off running. It runs across the empty pond. It runs down to the woods and stuff. And we're like, whoa, that was crazy. And we look in there, and there were a bunch of little baby. There were like a little bunch of little baby coyotes.
Yeah.
And so it was a very thin from the surface of the ground to where it was. We could almost just kind of scratch our way through. And we opened up through it to the top because we didn't want to crawl all the way back to it. And we opened it up enough to reach through, and I reached through and I pulled one of the coyote pups out. And my dad looked at it and he said, "That's a male." He said, "That'll grow up to be mean." And he said, "Put that one back." So I put it back. I reached out and I grabbed the next one. It was a female. And he was like, "Yeah, let me have that one." And he took it and put it in his hoodie pocket. All of this was like completely unspoken, undiscussed. I was like, are we keeping a coyote? Like, what are we doing with this thing? So I put like a rock or some tree bark or something back over the top of the hole. We put the dirt back on it. I hop in the vehicle that they showed up with. I had like hiked miles to get there. But so we ride off and we go back to my house, and I'm thinking like, does my dad want this coyote or what? And we get back to my place and he gives it to me like, here's your coyote pup, you know. And I was like, holy shit. So I put the thing in a dog crate out in my garage. I didn't know what to do, man. I was like giving it pieces of hot dog and stuff, you know. And my buddy Kyle Williams comes over. Rest in peace, Kyle Williams. Man, badass dude. He comes over and he sees it and he says, my dad has been diagnosed with some terminal illness, and he just read a book about some lady that like made it trained a coyote as to be her pet. He was like, that's so crazy that you have this coyote. He was like, could I give this to my dad? And I was like, yes, dude. I was like, please take this thing and give it to your dad. So he took this coyote pup and he gave it to his dad, and they put a dog collar on it, dude. They were feeding it dog food. They had a little 7-acre spot with a pond, and it would chill out on their back porch. Whenever I would show up, it would get scared, and like anybody that it didn't know, you know, and it would run around to the other side of the pond and just kind of like be pacing on the dam. But
Naturally.
they named her Shadow, and then I think when she got about a little over a year old or something, she just kind of disappeared. But that was the other coyote encounter that I had after that one in the drain tube. I've got a couple foxes too. One of the foxes I got was mangy.
We got a question by
Yeah, we had a question. Keith Griffin said, "Fine, fit, stay. Do you value that standard just for Patterdale Terriers or for all hunting brands?"
All terriers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
terriers.
I think there's probably variations of that applies to other dogs, but for the most part, that's a terrier thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Jamie said these little dogs' nose found the coyote. It fit in the pipe to get the coyote.
That's like
Obvious.
cool type stuff, though. You know, those are things that only happen to people. And we mostly get raccoons. We get a lot of possums. I joke that now that I have the world's greatest possum pack, they get like 3 to 4 possums an hour. It depends where you take them, but if there's a possum there, they're gonna find it. And they're not walking past coons to find possums.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We just got a lot of possums. And but yeah, we get coons, all kinds of stuff, man. Yeah,
Just like that.
that's what we do.
Did you
Why
pull that from
not?
the site?
What'd you
What'd
say?
you say?
Did you pull that from the website, Ronald?
I pulled that. No, I pulled it up. He sent some pics.
You're right. You did a couple of good ones. Yep.
You know what, man? One time online, I posted guided possum hunts, $99 per possum. Success guaranteed. And I actually had this fucking guy hit me up. I was like, "Hey, man, I'm sorry. It was a joke," you know?
This guy was ready to drop everything, come to your house, and just
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
You just gotta get it in.
Shoot, I'm about to steal that idea.
Are these
Oh, hey, listen, I wanted to tell you about oh,
what are
okay.
these?
So the red dog with the black mask, that's Big Red. And dude, he was so good. He was so good. And the little black one, that was Saxon. He's the one that had the luxating patella. And so after I lost Big Red, I got Ruby Red. And I got her from Robbie, even though she was bred by my brother, because uh, he had just gone and picked up a pair of pups. And after I lost Big Red, he said I could have either one. And Ruby Red had actually been. I knew he really liked Griffin, who was the brother to Ruby, and also Ruby had been kind of dog aggressive. But in my experience, a Patterdale puppy that's being dog aggressive, uh, they just need to be hunted. I'm sure there's some total psycho, like crazy ones, but they just don't stop. But you could redirect that, once you start taking them hunting. And I think that some of the Patterdales that have some of those undesirable like traits when they're younger, it's actually uh,
Boredom.
a good sign. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah. You gotta get them out.
yeah. But so I picked up Ruby. I got her when she was like 6 months old, and I just immediately started taking her out, just like I was doing with Big Red, just like I did with Darby, just taking them out all the time, like almost too much. And when she was 9 months old, they had the um, Purina trials at Gray Summit, and it was like the big one. They do it every Memorial Day. They call it the Memorial Day Bash. They had
Yep.
they bring judges in from like the UK, from like that, like see like English Patterdales and shit. And there's people that come in from California, all over the country, and all this shit. I showed up with Ruby, 9 month old pup. Uh, there were 294 dogs entered, and I'm talking about the tunnels, not the confirmation, the tunnel shit.
Yeah.
Uh, she won that shit as a 9 month old pup. And Robbie's the one that raised her. My brother's the one that bred her. And I pretty much just like sharpened her up and took her and won that shit. It was kind of cool. I was pretty proud of it, like for our group in our area.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, for the Patterdale breed, because that was against all kinds of different breeds of dogs. Like there were a lot of Jack Russells there. But those tunnels were kind of cool because so they have like 11 different ones, if I remember right. This is at Purina Farms. You guys got to check this shit out if you get a chance. You walk through the woods like in a natural setting. I'm a real like I hunt for real, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
this shit was kind of cool. You walk through the woods in like a natural wooded setting. It's a fenced in area of like if they're big, but it's got like a fenced in area. You
Yep.
dog up. There's a T post that's painted white. You have to go to that T post and unclip the dog off the leash. You can give like one command or something. The dog has to find the entrance of the den, enter to. Is that your sump pump, dude?
That's my fucking dog upstairs in the X pen, just scratching your ear, kicking your fucking back
I
leg.
thought it was
Is that Henry?
Nah, that's my Frenchie.
Damn.
But dude, they have to negotiate the tunnels, whatever they are, to the a caged rat, and attempt to engage the quarry for like a certain amount of time. And that could be like barking or like biting at the bars or whatever it is. And the first tunnel was 10 feet with 190-degree turn, some like super basic shit. By the time you get to the 11th one, there's multiple entrances. Uh, there's tunnels with dead ends.
Yeah,
It's like 75 feet of tunnel.
it's a lot.
Kind of cool. I'm not saying it's like real hunting, but I was actually like a little impressed with like the layout of it, and that they have that set up there in Missouri.
No, that is a pretty cool setup, and actually sounds a little more challenging compared to the other artificial type setups that I've heard of.
Yeah, it was cool. I've seen ones that were like barn hunts, excuse me, they do some barn hunt type ones up there where it's like saddles and some bales of hay and the fucking rat or whatever. But yeah, those were cool. Um, the AWTA stuff was sort of hilarious to me because it's like 10 digs and you become a champion, you know? And like these, like I got on these big red and ruby red, like I was actively working them and showing them in the AWTA. But they've got like in 2 years, not of hunting, but of their life. So like a year and a half maybe. I've got like 72 and 75 successful digs, and so to be for the ultimate goal to be like to get 10 digs, it just was like a little bit laughable in our circle. Like it'd
Oh
be
yeah.
kind of cool to see them up that where there was like some super champions or something, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of those things too, like the titles and how they describe them are a little ridiculous. Like the certificate of gameness.
Yes, dude.
Yeah, like
Well, listen. I will say this. I had this realization while I was watching the movie The Gangs of New York, of all things. But you know how people say "dead game"?
yeah.
I don't think that dead means dead. I think that dead means very. Like the way in the time period that was used or that it originates from is where you hear like I'm dead beat or dead broke or dead whatever, you know what I'm saying? Dead means very, not dead.
That's a good way of discussion, a good way to talk about it, because I feel like everyone in their mindset is just like, oh, the dog's dead game. And I'm like, well, he's alive. But
Listen,
like,
I know a lot about gameness, but I'm just talking about the words, you know?
oh yeah, the semantics. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that dead means very in the way that it's like kind of the origin of it. And I think that it's misused now or it's changed maybe.
Yeah, I've heard the word hard bitten before and stuff like that. Describe terriers too.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I've been really into like historical books about hunting with dogs and whatever dogs that I've been fucking with at the time. I got to get all the books, you know what I mean? And Terry are no different. And so I really fell in love with the Brian Plumber books. I started collecting all the Plumber books, and that's like terriers and lurchers and some dog training in general type of ones. But some really cool ones. I like books, like physical books. But and I have a lot of them actually. My daughters told me the other day to be designated as a library, you have to have 500 books, and they counted the ones in the living room, and there were over 700. So they said, "Oh, we got a library." But so I like real books. But there was a time when I got into buying books on the Kindle. You could buy a book for like
Yeah, I did the
three
same.
ninety nine and get it instantly, and it doesn't take up like a whole room with furniture and all that. And I was buying all these books, a lot of terrier ones, and they'd be like cool ones that were historical accounts that were collected up. And I think the guy's name was Ron Black,
Mhm.
and he's passed away. But he would go through like news articles from the UK from like the 1800s, early 1900s that mentioned certain specific breeds of dogs or packs, like hunting packs, and compile them into these books. And it would be like, like the history of the Ulswater pack from 1860 to 1920 or something. And it would just be cool old newspaper articles. And I love the way that they did stuff back then. You know what I mean? It'd be like, a fine day of sport was had by all who attended the otter hunt at the river, whatever the fuck, and like it was just kind of. I like collecting the books and reading about the history and stuff.
You ever read like the Brian Plumber stuff about like the rat catching he used to do?
Oh yeah, man,
Yeah.
dude, I literally have like every Brian Plumber book. That picture you just put up there. That's Ruby that I have. I'm the short guy, and that is Amos. That's her brother from the first litter, of Rasta Inky, and that's Adam Pullman holding his dog Amos, and that's a raccoon that we found on a big hunt that a guy named Joey Suet put together, and
Yeah.
he had like we had like over 20 terrier men, and we all split into different groups, and we went out and saw what all we could get, and all met back up later. And Joey has Mason dogs off of a guy named Hugh Reed. I think he's from down by like Arkansas or Oklahoma or something. But anyway, yeah, that tall guy's Adam Pullman. He's an MMA fighter from here in Kansas, and he's a terrier man too.
Yeah, it seems like Kansas, everyone's kind of low key a little bit of a dog guy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we got that going on for sure. That's Big Red right there.
Yeah, go to Anthro's question, Woods, for a second, because you were on that. We'll go to that because that's a good question. It says, anybody here if those Plumber Terriers are still working? I wonder if Plumber Terriers' revival of the Alliance ever came to fruition.
Oh man, yeah, I don't know. The Plumber, that was Jack Russell, Beagle, and Staffy.
Yep, you got it perfect. Yeah, that's exactly what this. My understanding is that they're really heavily inbred right now, and they're mostly just ratting dogs.
Right.
I see the post every now and then, and I there's a little bit of them on Facebook. I doubt any of those dogs have touched U.S. soil. I doubt it.
Yeah, they'd be rare. They'd be rare, man.
These right here.
Yeah, Plumber Terriers. Yeah, because it's just that color. That's really the only thing that differentiates them from like a Jack Russell and like that like kind of smooth coat. But like you said, it's Beagle, Staffy, Bull, and Russell.
So their thing though, they're like as chirpy as Jack Russells, and
I don't know. They're
Staffy.
so rare now. There's probably less than 20 of them around. Maybe more than that. I could totally be wrong. There could be like a whole like clusterfuck of them in England.
I bet they got some following somewhere, but I'm just listen. I don't know, but I'm thinking his idea was probably to get some nose from the Beagle, right? To get some gameness from the Staffy Bull, and I don't know what the fuck he wanted from the Jack Russell. Maybe get the size down or something. Make him look like a terrier. Yeah, plumbers are cool, man.
Yeah, I would love to be able to see one of those in person. Recently, the kind of dogs I've been seeing a little more in person, and it's been a little while now since I moved to Mass, but like I was kind of getting into my friends with the Dachshunds, and those are pretty cool dogs.
Oh man, like Teckle style.
Yeah, like I'm talking like dig into like 4 to 5 pound Dachshunds.
What are you getting with those groundhogs or something?
Groundhogs. They're good groundhog dogs. Look at work in bay and like kind of woof up, and they're smart about it.
Cool.
How much? How many pounds?
4 to 5.
4 to 5.
Yeah.
I'm all set.
Hey guys, let me go let this dog in real quick. I'll be back. Is that cool?
Yeah, of course.
Definitely.
Hold it down for just a minute.
Yeah, we got it.
All right, cool.
4 to 5 pounds, bro.
Yeah, Teddy Moritz, he runs really small type dachshunds for working rabbits and working groundhogs in the spring and summer.
4 to 5 pound dog on the groundhog though.
Well, they're not. I'm not saying they're gonna fly into it and like get in with a groundhog. They're just kind of baying and mixing dogs. Like those smaller ones, it's pretty much straight bay. And like my one friend's, his dog would get a little more in the action. Like if a groundhog turned around, he'd bite their butt or back leg, but he wasn't full frontal biting them. Yeah, he was talking about. I'll have Scott reference that back when he comes back over here. But I think he was talking about that back in the day that the term might have meant something different than it does now. My first understanding is of what you just said, Eddie, is that a dead game dog is a dog that died doing his job.
And
Yeah.
Eddie's right. Like dead game thing, but like now dead game doesn't mean really a dead dog.
Does it though, or is it just people saying that? Like, are there just people trying to throw on that title for Patterdales to make them look more badass?
I mean, I'm saying it. I'm saying as far as like the dog world in general, like dead game. Like some people might just say dead game means it's like like it has it like it's dead game, like it like done deal. It has game. You know what I mean? It's dead. The conversation's dead. It's you know what I mean? It's dead game. The dog is game. Period. You know what I mean?
Hey Scott, we end up circling back to the dead game conversation. It doubled back to that.
Yeah. So
Right on. Yeah.
go back to that, but yeah, that I mean, just being like in Marshall, I'm always tuned in with a whole bunch of just different lives on all types of dogs or podcasts or whatever you want to call it, or what I'm saying, episodes or whatever. But yeah, dead game can mean a lot of different things. For some people, it means dead game, a champion dog. Like if we're talking about in the pit bull world, they might say dead game mean a champion dog that is obviously he was game because he's a champion dog, but is dead. But then there's people that say dead game meaning like point blank period, the dog's game. It's not a question.
Well, I would say, it kind of depends, man, because you could definitely be an ace dog that became a champion and you never really showed any gameness.
Yeah, there we go. True.
The game dog has to show the gameness. That's why I would even like appreciate like a game loser more than than an ace that just was never tested. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I mean, as far as what I was talking about, as far as like you said, you come from the pit bull world,
Yeah.
And you know what I mean. When in the pit bull world, if you say dead game, it means two things. It means either a dog that's dead and had a lot of game, or a dog that's just point blank period got game. Because like I was saying, some people it doesn't mean the dog's dead. It just means like the conversation about that dog being game is dead. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like it's the dog's a killer, it's a champion, it's dead game. You know what I mean? But
I would say that the modern interpretation of dead game means game to the death. And I think that the phrase originated, and it was just simply it meant very.
Mm-hmm.
I
But
think
it doesn't necessarily, especially these days, it doesn't necessarily mean the dog's dead. It just means that dog got game and it's willing to fight to death. And
extreme gameness. But yeah, man, you always want to breed for gameness and hope for ability. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
Because that's a trait you definitely want to hold on to. And man, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool, like all the animals that are game. I was trying to think of like animals, like what are game animals? Like I would say like dogs could be game for sure.
Yeah, dogs again. I mean, if you're talking about game animals in general, I mean, when you get to the wild, I mean, there's respectfully, I mean, not to like sound crazy, but there's beetles that are game.
Yeah, dude.
There's frogs that are game. You know what I mean? There's lizards that are game when you get into the wild aspect.
Oh, my Pac-Man frog is game. My Pac-Man frog will hang off my hand.
No, but I mean, you got a Pac-Man frog. He'll hang off your hand, but he'll also eat a fucking mouse in a minute. Live.
Oh, he would die off a mouse if he tried. He would for sure go for it.
You know what I mean? And then you got frogs, you know what I mean? Pac-Man frogs that actually just eat mice and shit, or them big, them big, whatever it is. Like I said, there's beetles that are game. There's beetles that lift up other beetles up and kill them a certain way, and they're lifting more than them lifting fucking 5,000 pounds their own weight and shit. You know what I mean? So it's like when you get into the wild, I mean,
dude, the wild's crazy, man. Let's talk about coyotes and like if you appreciate canines for their ability to hunt and be badass and shit. Like coyotes are some bad motherfuckers, and I always look at them as like the benchmark. And as far as like the taxonomy, like the actual like size and shape of them, I actually haven't seen a domestic dog that more closely resembled the shape of a coyote than a border collie.
Yeah.
A coyote pup that's born in the wild in a den in April. Okay, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. By the time that thing's like 6, 7 months old, it's like hunting up all its own food. You know what I'm saying? Like enough for it to survive. It's on its own. It's hunting up its own food. They may pack up, and they can run so fast, man. Like we breed dogs to try to catch them, and they've been breeding them for to be fast for thousands of years, and sometimes they'd still struggle, even 2 or 3 of them, to catch one single coyote. And because nature culls harder than any breeder,
You know, for
so
sure.
hard. And uh, talking about like biologically appropriate type stuff and nature type stuff, like man, there was a time when I used to work Patterdales, and I would feed them the game that we would catch, especially groundhogs. Man, I'd feed them groundhogs, and I would take a Patterdale, catch a groundhog, put them back in their kennel with the groundhog, and they would eat that thing over the course of like 4 days. And at the end, by the time the groundhog was gone, the terrier would be so big around that you would look at him and you would think there's no way that you could even hunt that dog, you know? So then they got to like kind of process all that much food,
Yeah.
not feeding them up, and then to give them the opportunity to do it like nature would do, you know what I'm saying? Like, could you hunt enough game to actually feed yourself? And with the Patterdale, yes, they definitely can, you know? But one of the things about terrier work that that I noticed was a lot of the background in it has to do with pest control.
Yeah.
So you're always like hunting for stuff that it's like you can't really eat the shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like some raccoons or like some rats or something. You know what I'm saying? So that's
Well, Marshall eats rats.
oh, dude, that
I
actually that explains a lot actually.
You don't eat. What are they? Marsh. What kind of rats was they?
No. So basically, this guy RJ in Maryland was talking about eating muskrats, and he didn't know what muskrats. People eat muskrats like that. So like,
Oh yeah,
Woods
yeah.
was an absolute culture shock.
Dude, have you guys eaten much wild game? Listen, I tried a groundhog a couple times. Motherfucker tastes so much like pork that I think that's why they're called groundhogs.
Do you?
They taste like pork, dude.
Yeah.
I'm not eating a groundhog.
I'm
And
eating
I'm
a
not
groundhog.
eating a musk. I'm definitely
Dude,
not eating
groundhogs
anything
groundhogs
that eat with
clean.
rats.
They eat like vegetation and stuff.
They eat clover.
I mean, I get it, but like, I don't know. I mean, I would eat maybe groundhog before I eat musk. I'm not eating anything that ends with rat.
No rodents. A groundhog. What is a groundhog's a rodent though?
Groundhog, muskrats, people eating raccoons, squirrels. Come
I tried
on.
raccoon, man, and you know what? It was only after I tried cooking one that I saw this diagram that was like they have these glands that you're supposed to remove. Otherwise, I was like, oh shit, maybe that's why it tasted all weird. But it tastes kind of like beef, but like way too much like raccoon, dude. You know?
How much temperature will they kill with it? Yeah, the rat hunters. Griffin had a question.
Yeah. What is the plumber temperament? Will they kill? They want a family pet. My understanding, Keith, is that they're primarily a ratting dog now. I'm sure they were probably used for fox and stuff when Brian Plumber was working them, but I think they're primarily a ratting dog.
Listen, it's a novelty breed, and the only reason they have value is because they have that dude's name attached to them. I don't think anybody should get one. I think it would be like they're kind of cool, you know what I mean, because of the history of them. But if you want a working dog, like don't fuck with plumbers, you know.
Well, it's the same as like the old Boston Bulldogs, like the ones. It's funny that you mentioned like you had old Bostons and then you worked in the other dogs. I have like friends in Maryland that are in like the same kind of thing where they'll bring their old Bostons out with us. And
Yeah.
Like, wow, this is like a gear higher than what I have.
Yeah, they're a little different, man. They're kind of cool.
They're cool though. Yeah.
It's kind of like a bulldog light. You know what I'm saying? Like an undercover bulldog light.
I have one who has a friend who's got one is heavily line bred, and they're both kind of line bred actually. But one male is like close to 40 pounds, like 30-ish.
Yeah.
The other male is like 25.
What is that, Rutan?
Yep, Rutan. Yep.
Eddie Hernandez, is there different levels of gameness?
Yeah, that was a statement. He said there's different levels of gameness.
I mean, I'm asking you guys. What do you guys think? Is that that's a statement, but I'm asking you guys as a question.
Yeah, I think that helps cover our definitions a lot too, as far as just like what we're talking about different levels of it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, definitely different levels. Part of them game can only take them.
There's always a trade-off, man. I've seen some dogs that were just way too game, but kind of goofy and lacked a little intensity. And those dogs that are like super crazy intense, it's kind of like they can only do it for a while, you know. There's dogs where they're game because it's in their genetic makeup, and then there's dogs that like you have to put the gameness in them through conditioning. You know what I'm saying? Like gameness will only last as long as they are well conditioned. But then there's another type of dog that seems less intense, and the gameness comes from within, and they just kind of they just keep going, you know.
Yeah, this conversation can definitely sit on a tangent in the group chat if you let it.
Yeah, we can move on for sure, man. You want to talk about Patterdale stories, man? I'll tell you a crazy one about Ruby Red. That's the one that I won that Purina trial with when she was a pup. I took her out and she got into a beaver den, and beaver actually bit her in the spine, in the back of her spine, like right above her hip.
How big is a beaver?
I don't know, man. It was in the water.
Like one of those like 50-pound massive ones that we're talking about?
Maybe, I don't know. I didn't really get a good look at this one, but I've seen some and caught some really big ones. I think in Kansas the record is over 70 or something. I think a lot of them are like 35 or something like that, but this one was actually in the water, but she was kind of tussling with it and it bit her and it hit her in the spine. And I brought her home, and that injury to her spine, it caused come to find out later, excuse me, it caused like a pins and needles sensation in her back, one of her back legs.
Yeah.
Her foot was asleep. And the next morning when I came down to check on her in the crate, she had chewed one of her own back feet off. And not the whole foot, but like most of the toes were gone, and it was just like splintered bone, you know. And it was like she did that to herself, but it was because of this
Painless in the response.
yeah, what the injury to the spine was causing her leg to feel like. She just started chewing on her foot, and it took like about six months to heal her up from that. You know, it was a lot of bandages and changing.
I bet.
After that, she wasn't really the same after that. You know, the way I like to hunt, like she'd be going into rock ledges and dropping down into places that she couldn't hardly jump back out of, and it was like super sketchy. And so I kind of retired her to a guy that hunted less and was going to do some breedings and stuff. And she went on to make some nice pups, but yeah, that's what ended up happening with Ruby. And I've had so many crazy things happen with terriers, guys. Uh, I had a Jack Russell that I owned for about 2 hours before she went to ground for her final time, dude. I got this Jack Russell her name was a Brandywine Punch, and she was a JRTCA bronze medallion.
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck that is. Uh, been dug to 3 different things. something. I don't know what the fuck. But I got given this dog at 11 a.m. on a Saturday morning in the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
I immediately took her to the woods. We went up on a big steep embankment with a rocky outcropping, like on the shoulder of the hill, and she goes into there and starts baying at something, and it's like, oh shit, you hope for a bolt or the dog to come out. It's kind of like an undiggable spot, and she's just in there, and it starts a heavy snow. And the dude that I was with, we did have a crowbar and like a little 2-pound sledgehammer and some shovels, and we moved rock until dude had to go. You know what I'm saying? So I took my buddy back to his vehicle. I recruited another guy to come out and help me, and he met me there, and we go and we work all night, and it's snowing heavy. I mean, it's a big flakes, and it's accumulating like deep snow. And then we don't hear the dog, but we're moving rocks. Some of these rocks are like the size of like a fucking microwave. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like big boulders.
Yep.
Dude, we're getting rocks moved. They're kind of breaking off and shit. But I was just fucked off. You know what I mean? I literally, like, my hands were raw. Like, I couldn't even pick up the hammer, let alone like break a fucking rock with it. So I went home and I slept for like 6 hours or something. And I woke up, drove right back to the spot, and it was like noticeably warmer, dude. Like, it went from like 20 to like 40 or something. You know what I'm saying? And when I got back to the spot where the terrier had gone down in that rock crack on the hill, all that snow melt was going down the hole like a waterfall.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just filling the hole like up like a waterfall. And so that was Brandywine Punch. That was the champion Jack Russell that I owned for like 2 hours. And man, we've had some crazy shit with beavers around here too. Like dogs getting with beavers in the water. Beavers have hurt them. And yeah, I had Darby one time. She went into a beaver den and she grabbed a beaver by the tail, and it dove under the ice with her attached to its tail. And there was the shore had rocks on it, and I started picking up all these rocks. It was in a pond.
Break the ice. Yeah.
Yeah, I started throwing the rocks in there, and I was breaking the ice. And the fucking dog comes bobbing up like like bloop, like a piece of wood or something. Swims to the shore, shakes off, and just takes off hunting. I was like, golly, man, these dogs are crazy.
Yeah, that does sound like a crazy scenario. Like I think I used to cone a yog, and I got one time where we were near a beaver dam, and I flushed like one beaver, and I saw the tail slap in the water and he's out. But I never asked my dog to where like we've gotten any engagement. I don't even know if I necessarily want that.
Man. Yeah, listen, that's kind of like some other stories where around here, like that's a no. Like that is definitely off game. You know what I'm saying? Like it happens. There's run-ins with them. A lot of other animals will be in beaver dens, but we're not trying to get beavers. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
We bump into them sometimes.
And if they get your dog in the water, shit's trouble.
Yeah. It looked like they lost a box cutter knife fight. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what they look like. Slice.
Your dog.
The cuts are clean though. You know what I mean? A beaver's mouth is clean. They chew on wood and shit. But as far as like when confronted with a dog, like yeah, they're super aggressive. They have no neck. They're like bullet shaped. Same with groundhogs, man. Yeah, they swim around all day. They chop down trees with their fucking face. You know what I'm saying? They're pretty hardcore. They get really big around here too. But yeah, I mean, I've had some accidents with beavers. Groundhog bites are kind of similar, but you'll take your dog off a groundhog and think that it made out pretty well. Didn't get too tore up, but you got to look inside their mouth,
Yeah.
Inside your dog's mouth, like where the lips meet the gums. That's where I've seen a lot of like kind of hidden groundhog bite injuries. But a groundhog's mouth is clean, you know, like when a terrier gets bit up by a coon or a fox or something, there's a lot more bacteria, and especially when they're young and they haven't been hunted a whole lot, they'll have a lot more swelling and the injuries will seem worse. But as you hunt that dog on, they get bit by more raccoons, they'll handle it better, unless they're fucking susceptible to coonhound paralysis,
Yeah.
which can be caused by bacteria in the coon's mouth or a buildup of it over time in the dog's blood, I believe.
Have you gotten on a lot of red foxes where you're at in your area in Kansas?
Just a couple.
Just a couple.
Yeah, one of them that I got was like shitty, mangy one. The other one was like hella nice. We used to have a lot of them here in the neighborhood. You'd see them running around. I wouldn't hunt them too much. I did at one time. I found a hollow log that had some baby ones in it, and I left them alone, you know. But we have more like urban coyotes now, and they ran the foxes off. We don't.
Same.
Years ago, we had foxes in the neighborhood, and now we have more coyotes, you know.
Yeah, moving to Massachusetts, that's definitely a thing. Because in Maryland, there's so many red foxes. There's a
Yeah,
lot of
that's
reds.
cool. Yeah, you know, like a lot of the animals, like raccoons, possums, uh, all the animals that I hunt, I I like have so much love and respect for the animals, the dogs, the people that hunt. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like I have like this theory about like people and are similar to dogs in the way that like some of them really fucking want to hunt. Like they're like real hunting ones. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't really have any other ideas. Like they just want to go hunting. Like the way dogs are like that, people are like that too. There's ones where they're like they'll go do it. They might like it, but like they're cool too, you know. And then there's ones where it's like, yeah, they're not really into that shit. That's how people and dogs are. And when you get a dog that is all the way in, it's a real hunting dog, and you get a human that's all the way in that is a real hunting human, and you put those two together, like man, that's when it gets really fun, you know, because there's a lot of people that really want to hunt but they have a shitty dog, and there's a lot of really fucking good hunting dogs but they have a fucking shitty owner. You know.
No, I know what you mean.
But
Yeah.
it's that man, when it works out, it's amazing, and it's like I feel like it's like a connection uh with the ancestors almost, you know what I'm saying? Like it's that's what I feel like my role is here, is just I'm just keeping these hunting genetics on deck in case the human race ever needs them again, you know.
Yeah, and it probably will. I mean, we'll probably end up having to double back and having to rely a lot more on dogs.
Yeah,
Who knows?
yeah. We need diversity in the genetics so we can survive like a variety of situations or pressures. But my role is to make sure that humans can keep fucking hunting, dude, because it's definitely in my blood, you know.
Oh yeah, 100%. When Woods gets back, we're gonna go up to our friend Ears is asking some questions. He's in the chat now.
Yeah, I think I know who Ears is.
Yeah.
Which one? This one right here?
That so he said, Scott, what about the theory on terriers with curved whiskers instead of straight whiskers, and how they tend to enter different types of sets?
Okay, yeah. Damn, dude. I got some crazy fucking ideas, guys, and I'm like listen, this is what you need to know about me. I'm not about the rationing or the reason now, okay?
Mm.
I'm all about the mystery and the magic. And one of the magical things that I'd noticed about terriers, especially Patterdales. Okay, do you guys know what the purpose of whiskers is on an animal? What they do?
Yeah.
They're like highly sensitive hairs, okay? And as far as a whisker sticks out is as wide as the animal's body is. And so when an animal sticks its head in a hole, those whiskers are like a fucking measuring stick that's like wired into their neurons of like, how wide is my body and like, do I fit in this hole or not? Whether they want to keep trying to push on through and whether they do fit or not, the purpose of the whiskers is to indicate to the animal in their brain how wide their body is and if they're going to fit in a burrow or not, or a hole.
Yep.
So if you look at a Patterdale Terrier's whiskers, some of them have them like kind of sticking out, you know. Some of them hella curl, like they're like they don't even want to be there, dude. They're like, no, we're not measuring anything. We're like, what? We're like, we're not even gonna do that.
You're right. I never thought about it like that until you said it. But you're
So
right.
even if the dog has a high drive and it wants to push on through on some very primal, basic, all the way down genetic neuro level, there's
Mm-hmm.
a little fucking signal in the back that says you don't fucking fit in here. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
They just don't
So they
care.
might be like, I'm gonna go anyways, but that's them having to try harder to do something that they want to do. That if they did not have that little warning signal going off in their brain, that they would just smash. I just yeah, dude. I got some ideas about some weird shit like that, you know?
I mean, that's not weird. That's a fair thing to notice. Now, kind of what I want to do is just take one of those dogs with long whiskers and cut the whiskers off and be like, go
Cut
in.
those motherfuckers off, dude. They never get that signal in their brain. Hey, you want to talk about some weird body modifications on dogs? When I when I got that Derby bitch that was the bull Russell, she had the bull terrier ears, and it drove me crazy because she would go in holes and it would be full of dirt. You know what I'm saying? And so I thought, God damn, I just wish that her ears laid down. And you know what I did, guys? Uh, this is fucking crazy. I might be the only dude that you know that did this. I took and I super glued a nickel on the tip of each ear. A nickel on the
Dude.
inside the coin.
Mhm.
And it made the ears way down to where to where they stayed down closed like a button ear. And eventually that super glue wore off and it pulled off with the coins with the glue and some hair on it. Left these little bald spots like the size of a nickel and the fucking ears stood back up. But it was kind of a cool experiment, you know?
I mean, I've always heard of the reverse, but that
Yeah.
sounds like a reverse crop. You're
Yeah.
trying
They're always trying to train them up, aren't
yeah,
they? I tried to train them. I tried to train them
calm
down.
down.
Yeah, and glue some nickels on that shit.
At first, I thought you were going to talk about magnets because I was like, oh, he's just like, oop.
No, man. I've heard of people healing greyhounds with magnets. I don't know if that's some bullshit or not, but
Yeah, I've heard about that too. Yeah, I mean, like, there's definitely a lot of things to be thought about when it comes to that kind of stuff. And like, now when it comes to like, this is even a crazier conversation, but fuck it. Like now, with all this like genetic engineering stuff happening, I kind of wondered if, as the future progresses, like, how's that going to affect our dogs? Like, they're making dire wolves now. Like,
yeah, yeah.
why can't we get the throwback terriers that we had before? Like, why can't we get some of that back?
It's gonna be kind of like an artisan, like craft thing that's gonna be appreciated for like as being like an old school thing. Like if you're like a fucking blacksmith that nobody needs or something, but you got these old cool skills, or like if you like like the bioengineered animals, that's going to be like the Bud Light, but there's always going to be like some dude making some unreproducible like seasonal ale or some shit. Like that's going to be like the breeder that actually makes their own selections, like based on their observations in the field and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But I think that's all a bunch of bullshit too, like all those genetic markers. And I mean, it would be cool. Listen, I think it's cool if we want to eliminate diseases and shit. in breeds, to get like gene markers or something. But I don't think they're going to be able to do that with a lot of these things are like really complex behaviors and traits that are like multiple genes interacting. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to be able to find like a gene for gameness because there's like multiple things at play,
Yeah.
or a gene for certain things are more complex than just like one thing, because you got genetics, environment, and nutrition, and you get a different result if you switch up any of those,
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like potentially a fluorescent Patterdale might be kind of handy.
Oh, dude, bioluminescent terriers like you call them?
Yes.
All right. I wanted to dye my collie bitch that's a purebred collie. She has a white tip on her tail, and she hella marks terrier sets. Like there'll be a terrier in there, and she'll be just like nose down in the hole with the tail sticking out, wagging. And I'm like, man, it'd be kind of cool to dye that shit like safety orange or something.
That would be cool. Emily just made a funny post. She said, "Hold up, my two terriers both have curling whiskers. That's wild."
Dude, those ones push harder forward because they don't have that little nagging signal in their brain that says, I don't fit.
They're just gonna try anyway.
That's my observation, man. You spend enough time with dogs, you start to see a lot of weird shit and a lot of differences. You notice the Patterdales, some of them have a rounded ear and some of them have a pointy shaped ear. I like the pointy ones, man. And it's more of a correlation than a causation. I don't like the fucking pointy ear. I like other shit that the pointy eared ones do.
Let's get to the question that Beazle said just then.
Which one?
Beals Bubs. The next one.
I got you. Yeah.
He said, "Scott, how was Big Red related to Draco?"
Brothers.
Littermate
brothers. Yeah. Draco is up there with Rasta as far as like the hardest dogs I've ever seen. Except one difference. Draco is like a super good locator and Rasta was just like really, really hard dog. But yeah, they were brothers.
Well, that's really
Ruby
cool.
that I had is a sister to Griffin, who's the other dog that Robbie has. It's kind of like Patterdale famous.
Patterdale famous.
Yeah, man. I had a Yag Terrier one time too named Max, and he was imported from Serbia, and that was a crazy son of a bitch, man. That dog was open on track like a hound. He wanted to go to ground, but he was too big, and he loved the fuck out of like birds. Like he wanted to hunt. I mean, it was like a crazy combination of a dog.
Yeah, that is. The dogs can be really versatile, and especially like then you're probably getting some nice dogs from Serbia too. I think people are still getting some Yaks from Serbia, but in those places, Eastern Europe, you got to be careful what people you get dogs from.
Yeah, I imagine so. You know what, man? I kind of prefer like a specialist type of dog.
Yeah.
In theory, I mean, I'm hunting with collies, so what the fuck am I even talking about? But I like in theory, I like a specialist because like maybe you want to go dig to your Yog Terrier, and that motherfucker's like trying to like flush some birds or something, or like you want him to retrieve a duck and he's like fucking with a beaver or something. I don't know, man. Versatility could be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, they kind of vary a lot. Like I got absolutely like confused when I got my Yog, and I compared it too much to my Patterdales, and that's what shot me in the foot, honestly, because she was just so different.
Before I ever had one, I heard somebody say that theirs could fly a helicopter, and I was like, damn, those things sound badass. But man, I don't know. I think a Patterdale is probably king of the terriers, man, like the real terriers.
Yeah, the real king, not Airedales.
Oh yeah, that's them. I mean, they can be cool too, but they're different.
Yeah, because Airedales, you kind of see them; they have more of like that otter hound appearance.
Totally, dude. Yeah,
Body.
hunting otters in water, man. That'd be kind of cool to see like working pack of Airedales on otters. We're starting to get otters around here now. Have you seen the track of one? It looked just like a dog footprint, except there's 5 toes instead of 4 on there. It looked,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm starting to see a lot more like dead otters and stuff on the side of the road here in Mass.
Oh shit.
Massachusetts, like I've seen a lot more different wildlife. I see more. There's like I'll see fisher cats here. I've never seen them before. Otherwise,
Cool.
like here, like in the area where I'm at, you'll see bobcats like you see red fox.
Damn, yeah, I haven't ever got a bobcat with a terrier or a badger. I've got a few things I still want to try to catch with the dogs. And talking about theories about like some of my theories and stuff. You know, I was talking earlier about how I feel like some humans are like natural born like hunting humans. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like want to do that shit. But then to build on that, I think there's like a progression of in the development of the hunting human. And so I think that once you realize that you like are a hunter, that you want to hunt, the first step is to successfully hunt. And so people that tend to want to hunt will do whatever it takes to make sure that they are successful. So I mean, maybe you use a rifle and you shoot a fucking whatever deer rolls up on the pile of. You know what I'm saying? Like I did it. You know, like you. The first step is to show yourself that you can succeed at hunting. You know what I mean? Then the next step, once you do that, and some people will be stuck in step 1 forever. Some people will very quickly move on to step 2, but step 2 becomes a numbers game. And so then it becomes how many points were on the deer's antlers?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Catch the limit of fish or how many fucking ducks, it becomes about the numbers. How big was the raccoon? How many raccoons did you catch? That's the second stage in a hunting human's development. The third stage is what self-limiting factors, dude. Like now I want to try to get a deer, but I'm only going to use a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or like now, like super extreme example of that would be like a falcon. You know, like now I want to train a raptor to fucking catch the rabbit, or you know what I'm saying? Like some type of stuff factor, and that's where we are, guys, as people that want to hunt with dogs. It's like the highest level, like the highest expression of the hunting form as humans. Like to take a dog and raise it up and then go out into nature and successfully like hunt with it is some serious shit. That's the highest level. That's like the highest level of shit. And it's what it's like the way that we're supposed to do it. And
100%. Yeah.
it's in sync with nature.
Yeah.
You the animals that you caught are the animals that you're gonna catch. You know, like uh if you stray from like that natural way, like it starts to get a little bit fucking weird in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like I like all types of hunting, but I think that everyone that's on step 1 is
Yeah.
headed to step 2, and everybody that's at step 2 is headed to step 3. You know,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
like enlightenment or something. You know what I mean? Where it's like, and you know what, man, fuck it. I'm gonna add like a step 4. I think like the 4th level would be like I don't even need to fucking get anything with my dog to go out and enjoy hunting with my dog. You know what I'm saying? Because like I've been doing that and I'm gonna keep doing that, but like that's not really like I don't it doesn't have to happen for me to enjoy the experience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Ears made a good point to me talking about a while back. Like, it's like for me, people like me and you, it's like our church. Like, 100.
Totally, dude. Yes. Yeah. I think about ancestors a lot when I'm hunting with dogs, and it's the same with growing plants and farming. Like, I feel like they're, you know what I mean? Like, if you really pay attention, like, there is a direct connection to the past. And it kind of bugs me, like, when people talk about a lot of these working breeds in a historical way. Like, historically, they were fucking used to it. Shut the fuck up. Like, we still do that shit. You know what I mean?
We do, and honestly, like with how much urban development there is, now is not a better time than ever for small game. Like you're gonna even see
Oh,
even
yeah.
more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Man, having a dog to be able to to hunt small pieces of land is getting like more and more important, you know? Like it would be cool to be able to turn like a whole pack of hounds loose and just boop, boop, fucking go 4 miles. But like, where are you gonna do that at around some places, you know?
Yeah, and in today's day and age, yeah, it's tough.
A good little dog that's versatile, like like I was talking about not liking versatility, but I mean versatile in a way like we're gonna get a raccoon. How are we gonna do it? You know what I mean? It might be in the earth. We might catch it on the ground. We might tree it. Like a dog that can accomplish that on like a small piece of ground that doesn't range out too far. How far do you like dogs to range out, man? Like me personally, like 300 yards is like really fucking far away.
Yeah, same. I like kind of a dog to where they're gonna get further out and like they're kind of like my distant shadow. I can't see them, but I know they can see me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I like a dog that hunts in the general direction that I'm going and will check back in. I don't have to see him all the time. I don't want to see him all the time. Like that's one of the key indicators of if a dog is a hunting dog or not. Like, are we just going on a walk, or are you looking for shit?
Yeah.
That's huge, man. They got to be hunting, but I like them to check back in, and that's one huge advantage of hunting like a river or the shore of a lake or something. Is you can hunt along that line, and they kind of hunt only so far in a direction, or it kind of limits them in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If you walk the shore, they can't just go any way in a 360-degree thing, and so it can be helpful with a rangy dog to walk them on those waterways like that. I think.
I do that a lot, honestly, of training. Like in my profession as a dog trainer, I have these program called adventure hikes where I have like my pack of 5 to 6 that I go out. And a lot of the times I'll naturally get stick by water just for that reason, because I know they can't
Yeah,
double different sides and stuff. I can keep my eye on 5 dogs easier.
yeah, limits the directions they can go. I mean, I say that, but one time I had Big Red, and he was really banged up, man. And I took him to the park by the river with my daughters, and it was like he didn't even have a collar of any kind on. Like he was like really beat up, limping along type thing. And I felt sorry for him, so I took him with us. I was letting him out to kind of mosey around. That dude starts like winding down by the river bank, jumps in the river, and starts swimming across, and the current is taking him down. And as he's swimming across, he's just ending up further and further and further down. Eventually, you could kind of like see him get out on the other side of the river. I was like, we got to go. I load all the kids up into the car. Got to drive like miles back to where the bridge is that we can cross over this river. Cross over the river, drop off the kids, go back down there, and I actually found where he landed on the opposite bank, but I couldn't find him. And I spent all night out there yelling for him, Big Red. And there were some skateboard kids out there. There was like some concrete pads and stuff they were skateboarding on. And they had known that I was looking for him because I had asked them about him. And they saw him, and I was like far away from these kids at this point, but I heard the kids yelling, "Big Red, Big Red," and I knew that they had seen him, and so I went and got him, and who knows what he had been up to all night. But that was the same area that we lost one of Robbie's dogs, and they had done some slabs of concrete as like a bank reinforcement to keep the riverbank from washing away.
Yeah.
And so they put all these huge slabs of concrete, and it's on a downhill slope, and these huge slabs. But when you start to stand on them, like they might slide or go, you know. Anyway, at the top of the hill, his dog entered, and the deepest the deepest locator collar reading I've ever seen. The dog was like over 30 feet deep. I think it was like 34 feet. And he was in there for 9 days and came out on his own.
Damn.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Anything stone slab related is no joke.
Yeah. Yeah, pieces of concrete with rebar in them and shit. But listen, I will say this when we talk about like the history of breeds and stuff, everything about a Patterdale Terrier is to kill a fox in an undiggable location.
Mm.
That's literally what that breed was developed for. And if you want to look at the difference or the distinction between a Jack Russell Terrier and a Patterdale Terrier, a Jack Russell is from the south part of England, and that's where they do agriculture. It's like tillable land, you know. It's big flat fields, and so they're relying mostly on agriculture. And when they're chasing a fox, it's for sport. And so that's when you see the horseback hunts and they're chasing the fox and it's mostly about riding the horse, right?
Yeah.
And the social event of the fox hunt. And when they get that fox to ground, the first thing they want to do is get it to come back out so that they can chase it again on the horses, you know? And that's what a Jack Russell does. A Jack Russell is supposed to bolt a fox to the hounds so that you can chase the hound pack on a horseback. But then you go to the northern part of England where the village of Patterdale is in the Ullswater Valley, which is in the Lake District, right? Uh, Up there, it's rocky and it's fucked up, dude. You can't really grow crops, and so they rely on mining, and they have relied on sheep and chickens, raising animals. And so when they have a problem with a fox in the northern part of England, it's not for fun, dude. It's not a social event. It's not a cute fucking horseback ride. They need to be dealt with. You know what I'm saying? Because they're fucking with your sheep, and that's the only thing you got going on. And so they bred these dogs to go into these undiggable spots in the fells and smash up these foxes, you know? And that's what those packs in the northern part of England are doing. Like they're like truly on a mission, you know.
Yeah, I feel like that their style probably changed up a lot as soon as little earth locators came around too for mute dogs like Patterdales.
Yes, yes, for sure. You can get to one so fast, you know, and people will dig to a Patterdale real quick with a locator, and when you don't have one, it takes longer, and they have to stay longer, and you might find out more about the dog, you know. But I myself have never really hunted with a locator collar. I've done many digs, but most of them were shallow. I've never really had a dig over like 3 or 4 feet. You know?
That's nice. I feel like I would probably get in over my head kind of fast in my area right now without a locator.
Yeah. A lot of the people that come here bring them, and we hunt with them, but they don't end up needing it. Or if they do, it's kind of like we already knew where to dig. But yeah, it's a lot of like a lot of river banks and hollow logs and stuff is what we have here. And I've always kind of had, because of my hunting style, I end up with kind of like vocal mixer type, like hard mixers, you know.
Yeah, that makes plenty of sense. Would you
If I
still
had a tiny little mute super hard dog, I'd for sure want a locator on it.
Yeah. But yeah, especially if they're dead quiet like that.
Oh yeah.
Now I don't think I can pull the questions up myself. I think only Woods can do that, but I can still read them to the side. So it says right here that Beelzebub Stink said, "What was that one dog you had that was Staffy Bull / Pat from Mark? They were hard pups."
Yeah, man. Super fucking hard. I got the dog, and I brought two of them up, and one was for me, and one was for Marcus Valadez. And I took Marcus's out to Robbie. I kept mine here, and I started hunting her with my dogs, and she drowned in the river, man, for like a couple reasons. One, she had a hold of a beaver, but two, uh, have you ever seen a dog that was built in such a way that they actually like couldn't swim very well?
Yeah, I mean that's yeah. There's definitely some dogs that have that weird kind of like. I could see a shorter legged dog having a smidge of a
Short legs and like incredibly densely muscled dog, and
top heavy.
not a
Yeah,
swimmer. And she got into the river on a beaver and never did even come up. But th- those dogs that Mark It has down there are amazing. Like he took some Staffy bulls. He took a Staffy bull from Spain, and crossed it to Patterdales. Used that as his outcross, and those dogs are just super hard. But it's kind of too. It's like too much for me here, you know.
yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I've had friends who come at me with their his Staffy bulls. He's got pretty nice ones, but I could see that adding a lot of full throttleness to like a 50
If
50 cross.
if you wanted to take a dog like that out a couple times a year and shock everybody like that, that would be cool. But like if you wanna take that dog out like 4 days a week forever, like that's not it, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, we've covered a lot of stuff talking this far.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I've been enjoying it. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's been fun. The guests are definitely having a lot of fun too. I'll even read this thing that Anthro said. Anthro said, "I really enjoy listening to the guest theories. Brad from Circle S Dogos Argentinos is a great dog man to follow and also has similar ancestral theories."
Nice. Yeah, I haven't heard that. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, for sure. Everyone always throws in some good ideas here, usually.
Cool, man. Yeah, you guys have like a really cool thing going on. It's cool to see where you can take a little platform like that and kind of develop a community, like a little group of friends around it. That's really cool, and I feel kind of blessed to be a part of it now, and like I've been invited onto here for this. So yeah,
Oh yeah, man. It's just good to have you on, man. Like I said, it's crazy. Like in one way or another, our paths have crossed before. Like I said, like being younger, looking at that Vargy page, like that's how I learned about the dogs and stuff. Like I guess pre Facebook, it was just pro boards like that. Like that
yeah,
that was kind of the thing.
man. That Darby dog was so good that I had people trying to figure out my work schedule and steal her and all kind of crazy shit, man.
That's wild.
She was she was she was pretty good. Uh, yeah, definitely like kind of changed uh, my path at least as far as dogs go. You know.
No, yeah, I could see that genuinely changing a lot of people's style up, and like even just seeing Seth Simpson's post about that dog Bill, like him just like flying in the culverts and just like walking out of a coyote like casually. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
he's
You know what, man? Having dogs like that will really change you too because you can't settle for a common dog anymore after seeing stuff like that. You know, you only want the best stuff, and somebody like me, I can only keep a small number of dogs at a time, and so it always seems like it's always about the next up and coming thing or like the next cool thing, and so uh, for one to really stick around, uh, they either have to have a little bit of self preservation or I got to be trying to protect them from themselves, you know?
yeah, no, it's a gift and a curse.
Yes, yes. Uh, man, yeah. some of the best dogs will go out in a blaze of glory if you really let them show you. But it's cool because it'll kind of prove themselves and the bloodline, and it makes for like legendary stories and experiences. But at the same time, there's always like a little bit of loss and some grief when when those really good ones do their thing.
Yeah, and I'm also like, I think in my life right now, I'm kind of holding the same family dog aspect that you're getting into. Like, even like this coming May, me and my wife were expecting our first. So like, I'm at the point now. Like, I like my lurchers a lot. I like my pats. When me and my wife first started dating, I would bring my pat back home pretty damn banged up.
Yeah. Yep, that's how Pats come home.
Yeah.
But man, I love the Collies. The thing about them is you just can't really hurt a Collie. They work game about like you or I would, where it's like kind of in a careful way, and that they're super athletic and durable type of dog, and they have this crazy ability to um, turn their output up to like 2/3 and just leave it there all day. They like 2/3 output like all day.
Yeah, I got a lot more respect for the working border collie when I got into goose control. I worked with a friend's company, and they basically trained like border collies to work geese off of like airports, HOA lands, properties. And
Very
my one border collie I had from him could literally move geese in the water like sheep to me, like all the way to me. She would mark nests, like it was super handy. She would walk pairs off of the nest so I could addle the eggs. I put the eggs in oil and give them back to the geese because legally that's what you're allowed to do. It's called egg addling. But she would walk them off like basically like a cow off a calf, just like keeping them away from me enough for me to do my job and walk off. And those dogs would swim so much and run so much, and all they needed was that like 20-minute car ride in between, and they were solid.
nice, man. Yeah. Once I got used to how sensitive the Collies are, as far as like training them and stuff, like uh, you can really just use your voice. Like tone of voice is enough. Like that, if you try to overcorrect one, you'll spend like the next week trying to make up and be buddies with them again. But I kind of appreciate that in the end because it's like they just don't want to do wrong. They just want to please you. But yeah, they're definitely a different kind of dog. Did any of those ever catch any of the geese that you had out there?
Because so basically how we stopped them from doing that was we had a round pen, and the round pen had ducks in it, like runner ducks, and we just teach them the herding commands on the round pen and kind of teach them that distance. Because we worked through the Migratory Bird Act, if our dogs touched a goose, it was a very, very heavy fine.
I
So
got
it was not worth the risk.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's pretty cool stuff, though, man. I like all kinds of dog work.
Yeah, it also helped us working them in the water because that's when the goose had the advantage. If they got touched by a dog, it's because they wanted to get touched.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting, man. That's pretty neat.
Yeah. I think Ronald must be having some tech issues because he's been out for a little bit.
Oh, it's all good, man. He seems like a really great guy, and I I appreciate his energy and his inputs and stuff, and uh, efforts to make this kind of thing happen.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun, and we'll see how long my computer lasts before it keels over. So we'll see. I'm on a little bit low charge here, but we're hanging in there. We're still around. Anthro just made an interesting post. He said, the only thing that worries me with the collies and collie hybrids is they are allergic to heartworm medicine and ivermectin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like some of them are sensitive to that shit, and it is kind of a pain in the ass. Uh, I've run into that myself. Yeah. Yeah. You got to find like specific shit. Um, Fenbendazole Safeguard is good, but a lot of these ones where it's hella convenient, like you just give them a little chewable systemic flea and tick thing that lasts for 30 days. Like, yeah, they don't like that.
Yeah, I've actually heard about that, but I haven't heard about it in a while. But
It's not all of them, but it's some of them. But yeah, you can run into problems with that kind of shit for sure. You know.
yeah. Well, it's been pretty good. I think we cover a lot of bases. So I guess we're
Right on, man. Yeah. You want to call it?
yeah. I appreciate having you here, man. It's been good, and
Cool.
I'll probably just hang in a little bit we'll see how long my computer lasts, or we'll see when Ronald gets back so I can turn this off. But we appreciate everyone for coming on. Thanks, guys, for coming on for another Patterdale Talk. I guess this is episode for like the 17, 18 range. So
Very cool. Yeah, I feel honored, man. And yeah, again, anytime, man, just hit me up. We need to get together and hunt one of these times.
oh yeah, man, I would love to get up there. I definitely got to hit ears up and travel up there with you guys.
Cool. Yeah, hit up Robbie. He likes to host.
Oh yeah, I'll come over to his house with the sleeping bag. I'll crash at his.
All right, man. Deal. Cool. Have a good night, man. I appreciate it.
You too, man. Well, guys, thanks. I guess we'll have to figure out. I think Ronald's having a little bit of tech difficulties, but I'll probably hop off the studio and see if it shuts off itself. It might just sit on the studio with Ronald's computer. But all in all, guys, like thanks for having you out tonight. I might be gone for a little bit because my family's getting a little bit bigger. But thank you guys all for tuning in. I appreciate all you. Have a good one.